having covered the core questions about Williams versus State of California, now we need to focus upon exactly what their goals were, what their areas of focus were when it comes to Williams versus State of California. One of their primary concerns were materials. They were arguing that proper materials were not being given to all schools and educational systems. There were circumstances in which class sets of textbooks were not available, so students would either have to share or some students might get left out. They were also asserting that proper educators were not being given out to each educational system, to each district, to each school. They argued that the lower income schools would often be forced to hire emergency credentialed teachers because they argue that teachers who were credentialed weren't wanting to go into the conditions that were at their educational sites. Their next major area of concern were the facilities. They needed to make sure that their facilities were in proper order, that they were equal, and they provided a safe area for students to learn. On that note, they were also worried about resources. Were their school systems getting the same resources or the resources that they needed in order to ensure that their students would succeed in education? Finally, their last area of concern, their area of focus, was overcrowding. Often students were forced into rooms where there was very little room to move around. You would end up with that typical sage on the stage looking down past immense amounts of rows of students packed into a small classroom. Students would have to share books. Sometimes students would have to share small student tables. So this was a major area of concern for Williams versus the State of California.